Now, the mourning period will end in a couple of days, but as VOA East Africa correspondent Gabe Joselow tells us, it's likely to take much longer for the country's deep emotional wounds to heal.
Over the course of 4 days, Kenyan forces battled al-Shabaab terrorists who turned an upscale shopping center into a scene of horror. They opened fire at random, killing more than 60 people, including children, and wounding nearly 200 others. Many more are still missing. The guns have been silenced now, but for some victims, the trauma is still all too real. Charles Oswago, a mechanic in Nairobi, was inside the mall that day, getting a new line for his cell phone. Cornered in a supermarket, the gunmen told him to lie on the floor. He barely escaped with his life.
We crawled away to hide, but they shot at me and the bullet just missed.
Oswago says since his experience, he has not been the same.
From that time, I have been traumatized, living in fear, and I don't understand why, but I have no option but to come to work.
After the siege ended, Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta said the country was bloodied but unbowed by the events. But in the minds of some witnesses, the siege is still not over. Loy Awat was locked in a Westgate bank for 4 hours as the gunmen slaughtered people outside.
Yeah, it's one of those things that once you experience it, you can't unexperience it. And it's one of those things that the feeling of being there is so significant, it's so clear. You can't not be changed, or you can't not think differently after that, after such a thing.
It's not just the victims who have suffered. Soldiers, too, are affected by the atrocities they witnessed. This is a community center about 300 meters from the site of the Westgate Mall. A lot of soldiers who have just been fighting the terrorists inside come here where they get a chance to talk to some of the mental health counselors and go over some of the traumatic experiences they've had inside the mall. June Koinange is a psychologist volunteering with the Red Cross to work with soldiers.
They have seen things. They have been inside the Westgate Mall. They know things. Yes, they were very, very appreciative that there's a psychosocial team that actually just wants to ask about their welfare.
The Red Cross says many survivors have feelings of anxiety, guilt, and hopelessness, and uncertainty remains a burden for the families of those who are still missing.
Now, for more details on the situation in Kenya, Gabe Joselow joins us via Skype from Nairobi, Kenya. Hello, Gabe.
Hi, Vincent.
Now, thanks a lot for sharing that package with us. Now, there has been some counseling there, but how systematic has this been? How many people know and have been able to be seen by counselors?
Well, I mean, our last count that we had maybe a day or two ago was a couple hundred people who had come to that community center, which is right next to the Westgate Mall. But in the days that have followed, as there's been more attention to these sort of counseling drives, I'm sure that number has gone up.
Now, in terms of healing, the nation has to heal in so many different ways. We hear, and you actually mentioned to me that many people have been unable to go to some of the malls now elsewhere in the city. What is being done to help people come back to normalcy?
Sure. Well, a lot of it is just, beefing up security. It's about making people feel more comfortable in the city, and the government is trying to make as many assurances as they can. So even today, when you drive around, even getting into office buildings, into shopping centers, security is much tighter. They'll search your car. Using metal detectors to make sure you're not carrying anything. So they are making an effort to show that they're more in control. At the same time, there's still a lot of unanswered questions about this attack, and I think that's causing a lot of discomfort for people. One of the biggest questions is whether any of the attackers escaped, whether there are any other out there. So there's still this sort of lingering threat that I think will be a problem and a cause of anxiety going forward.
And sometimes people want to see images. Has there been any photo of a person who is suspected to have been one of the terrorists anywhere?
No, there have been images of CCTV cameras inside the mall when the siege was underway. There's at least one image that I know of. But that's another demand that some citizens have been asking for, is photographic proof that any of these guys have been killed. There's also hasn't been any access for journalists into the Westgate Mall yet, though we are expecting that we might be able to get in there soon to really get some images of the destruction and know exactly what happened.
Well, thanks a lot, Gabe, for giving us those updates. Now, Gabe Joselow is Voice of America's East Africa correspondent. He reports live from Nairobi.